as little as 30 minutes. Conditions apply. The time by Sagicor Bank is...
It is now 7 o'clock and it's time for the Morning Watch. The Morning Watch is brought to you with the kind sponsorship of Chris and Charles Investment. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Power in great moments. If you have financial needs, Chris and Charles will fix them for you. Power in great moments since 1992. Oh, we have it all. Power in great moments. Relax, you got Chris and Charles. Oh, we have it all. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM, the number one gospel station in Jamaica. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the U.K., 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also check us out on Love 101 FM Facebook Live and YouTube Live. In the main watch today, other thoughts on central bank digital currency. In the second watch, JN Foundation's greatness through the lens photo competition. In our social media question, we ask, what is your greatest concern about CBDCs? Share your responses on our Facebook or YouTube, Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your comments later on in the program, but first, as I quote.
I quote this morning is an integrity quote. Supporting the truth, even when it is unpopular, shows the capacity for honesty and integrity. Steve Bronkhorst.
Wow, DJ, sounds almost like, wow, amazing.
It is.
Even when it's unpopular?
Even when it's unpopular. It shows your
Wow.
capacity for integrity.
Yes, okay, I will remember this one. Deidre, how are you today, Deidre?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Wonderful indeed. Great. Looking forward to a great program and a great rest of day.
Same here, same here.
Wonderful. The main watch will be back after this break.
After the first year, your little one's brain continues to develop rapidly. NAN3 with its advanced formula, specially designed for children from 1 year, keeps their development on track, helps nurture their possibilities with the exclusive combination of optimized protein, HMO, probiotics, and DHA. NAN3, nurturing their possibilities. NAN3 is not a breast milk substitute. It is specially suited to children from 1 year onward.
Importers, the Jamaica Customs Agency is reforming its clearance process, making it easier for you to clear your non-commercial and small value items using our simplified declarations. You will be able to clear your goods without physically visiting the port or a warehouse for customs inspection, making your clearance experience even better. The pilot begins October 2022 across all marine public bonded warehouses. For further details, email Jamaica Customs at contactlessclearance@jca.gov.jm or telephone 876-922-51408. We're here to serve you. Jamaica Customs, keeping our customers in focus.
National bill up the nation. Nice big boots for everybody. Nothing no sweet me like bun and cheese. National make a bill with the family full of cheese. If old and mommy prefer crackers and tea. And we support all one chicken man with the hard bread, you know, giant brand. Serving the people of Jamaica with wholesome food to help you stay strong. Yeah, we are national truly Jamaican. Something for all occasion. Good for your breakfast, lunch or snack. Grab your national bag. Original, truly Jamaican. Best quality, 70 years strong. National build up the nation.
National Baking Company, baked with pride since 52.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Thanks for staying with us. More than 80 central banks across the world are looking at digital currencies. China. We also have the Bahamas. There is the Eastern Caribbean states, or there are the Eastern Caribbean states. We have Nigeria, and we have Jamaica. And in Jamaica's case, it would be the Bank of Jamaica issuing Jamdex. In fact, the Bank of Jamaica has already issued Jamdex. So for Jamaica, it's already here. But what do we in fact know about central bank digital currencies? What is fact and what is not fact? Will the central bank digital currency be our friend or our enemy? And we have online this morning to have another discussion on central bank digital currencies, Mr. Trevor Forrest. He is the CEO of 876 Solutions and he's also a cybersecurity consultant and a certified blockchain architect. We also have online today the president of the third political party in the island of Jamaica, that being the UIC. And of course, for those persons who may not yet be familiar with the term UIC, it stands for United Independence Congress of Jamaica. Good day, Mr. Forrest, and good day, Mr. Patterson. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Marshall.
Good. Starting with you, Mr. Patterson, I think many listeners by now realize or know that we have already issued CBDCs in the island, although it is not in wide use as yet. Mr. Patterson, getting right or cutting right to the chase, as they say, do you think that CBDCs for Jamaica and other parts of the world will be enslaving or empowering? Which one and why?
It definitely will not be empowering the people. It will be enslaving the people. And the reason for this is the current banking model, the current monetary system as it is before the CBDC is a fraudulent one that actually undermines the economy of the Jamaican people by
Fraudulent one, Mr. Patterson, you said fraudulent?
Yes. Any system which allows you to systematically steal the purchasing power for people is fraudulent. But bypass that for a second. What the CBDC will do now is give a central authority, a global central authority, the ability to not only manipulate the currency of a nation, but also control the behaviors and actions of the people in that nation. For example,
I don't mean to cut it to what you're saying, Mr. Patterson, but you said global central authority. Why
Yes.
did you include the word global? Because for Jamaica, it would be governed by the Bank of Jamaica, and of course, we call it Jamdex here. Why did you say Global Central Authority?
Well, I thought you knew that the Bank of Jamaica is no longer the Bank of Jamaica. The Bank of Jamaica was made independent of the government of Jamaica and by extension, independent of the people of Jamaica. So what
I
we
am
call the
aware that
Bank of Jamaica.
I'm aware that it is independent, but continue, sir.
Right. So the independence of the Bank of Jamaica means that it is now controlled by persons other than the government of Jamaica. So it's not answerable to the people of Jamaica. So by extension, it is controlled by others. The question we should ask ourselves is who those others are. Now, the central banking system of the world is linked to a central banking authority, which of course is largely controlled by the US Federal Reserves and so on. So we're a part of a global banking system. What the CBDC is going to do now is to ensure that that global banking system has a quicker response time and greater insights into the activities of citizens and will be able to program and control what citizens do or may not do insofar as having money is important. So as we move to a cashless society and become fully dependent on a central bank digital currency, it means the next time the authorities want us to do something, they'll have a better lever in the CBDC to say, if you don't behave as we want you to behave, we'll simply turn off your access or limit your access. This is going to be a significant controlling element in the lives of the Jamaican people and by extension, very dangerous.
Stick up in, sir. I know that you just completed a sentence there, but a quick one. At this time in any event, the understanding at this time anyway, is that you would have CBDCs for Jamaica in an event alongside the use of cash. But you mentioned things such as turning off central control. So if you still have cash, then arguably you still have that level of independence to spend whatever cash you wish to spend. So wouldn't that limit any amount of enslaving element, so to speak, Mr. Patterson, as you are putting it?
Well, what I'm trying to explain to you is where we're heading. So right now, it's the sweet phase, the phase where you tell us the nice story and incentivize us to join the program. And as we all let down our guards and join the program for the convenience and for all the nice things you tell us. And then once we get hooked on it now, and it's fully established. And by the way, in the process, you're going to make it harder and harder for us to use cash. You're going to have our banks and our other institutions and our vendors and retailers move away from cash, and gradually we'll find ourselves in a cashless society without even realizing it. And then at that point, you now have the dragon rearing its head. You all are familiar with Revelation 13 and what it talks about, but that's from a religious standpoint. But generally speaking, the trend line, the direction, and we saw this already. Anyone who feels comfortable trusting our government, or any government for that matter, is not really paying attention. But the direction of this CBDC or any other form of it is to ensure that the central authorities have control over our lives, which they already do to a large extent.
Only because I want to bring in Mr. Forrest before the break. If you could hold that thought, Mr. Patterson, we'll return to you. Mr. Forrest, any opening thoughts, enslaving or empowering, before we head to the break?
Well, I mean, it really depends on the school of thought. So I think Mr. Patterson's school of thought is entertaining. In some of what he's saying is accurate. Some of it is not. I would agree that moving into the realm of CBDCs does facilitate greater control of and monitoring of how people use money. And that's simply because it's moving into the digital realm.
Hold that thought, Mr. Forrest. Please hold that thought, because we are now heading to a break. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Get better coverage for yourself and your family as low as $800 a month. The time by JN Life Vest from JN Life Insurance is
7:15.
From generation to generation, Jamaicans have depended on J&B Bank to make the pride and joy of providing a safe place for their families possible. Now, with no processing fees and no down payment mortgage options, you can open the door to your own sweet home, a legacy to hand to your next generation. Visit jnbank.com to get pre-approved today. JN Bank will help you find a way.
The promotion you've been waiting for is now at Payless. Come to Payless and get the second item of equal or lesser value with 50% off. Discover our new styles. Everyone loves Payless. Restrictions apply. Valid through October 24. The Pentecostal Gospel Showers family of churches invites you to worship with us this and every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. and on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for Bible study. Join us for worship at our newest location at shop number 27, Savannah Plaza, 35 to 41 Constant Spring Road, Halfway Tree. Worship with us today. A warm PGS welcome awaits you.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the main watch, and the topic of this main watch is other thoughts on central bank digital currency. Our guests are Mr. Trevor Forrest, Chief Executive Officer of 876 Solutions, and he's also a cyber security consultant and certified blockchain architect. We also have Mr. Joseph Patterson, President of the United Independence Congress, Jamaica's third political party. Mr. Forrest, before the break, you're making a point. Please continue, and you might wish to comment, if you will, as to what it is that Mr. Patterson said that you seem to think or you indicated is inaccurate. Go ahead, Mr. Forrest.
Right. So like I said, the advent of digital currency in the form of CBDCs would allow faster monitoring of how funds and how people spend money and how the monetary system can act and monitor these things. So that is accurate. Now, the reality though is that happens right now, and I would challenge my my colleague Mr. Patterson to refute that. I'm sure he himself uses the same monetary system. It's challenging not to, but it is possible to. Now, the thing about it is, when we say or ask question if we're going to enslave or empower, it can in fact do both.
Let me. I want to clarify something you said, Mr. Forrest. I think you're indicating that we currently use a lot of cashless methods to do transactions. Maybe you meant, for instance, a credit card or a debit card,
absolutely,
or an online transfer.
So we do, yeah. Any electronic transaction that we do can be.
But when we
use them now.
When we use those methods, to my knowledge anyway, we're not doing it with the use of a CBDC, are we?
No, you're not.
Okay.
It's so understand the CBDC is merely a digital version of the paper that
of
we're
the paper currency. Yes.
Right now, even though we do electronic transactions, and I say that with that emphasis,
yes.
On the back end of all of those transactions, the paper still has to be moved. Right, yes. Now, with CBDC, there is no paper.
Right.
That lends itself to a whole bunch of different methods of doing things. One of the things that it will and should do, let me not say will, should do, is reduce the cost of banking. because right now we pay a lot of banking fees, and the reason for a lot of that is because of the overhead of treating with the paper on the back end and all of the logistics on the back end for that. So the advent of CBDCs should, and I say should, remove the excuse that banks give for high banking fees. It should also create, frictionless transactions, or more frictionless transactions. That's the good stuff. The challenging stuff, though, is the speed at which the financial system can control and monitor the transactions that occur. And the thing about it is, like I say, they already do that. And all of us, including Mr. Patterson, function in that realm. What the concerns also are a matter of privacy. Well, in a digital realm, which again everyone seems to want to move to because of the conveniences, there are privacy concerns. But these privacy concerns evaporated since the 90s. So again, if any of us were functioning in any of these systems from the 90s,
I want to ask to pause 1 second there, though, because from my own understanding of how CBDCs would operate vis-a-vis the current system, although the commercial bank will know what you're spending your money on, the central bank presumably doesn't. But with the CBDC being used, arguably, every single transaction you do is going to be seen from the central authority immediately. Am I correct?
So the central bank itself wouldn't know. They have the capacity to know.
They have the capacity to know. So yeah. It's almost as if they have constructive knowledge, even though they may not necessarily look, but if they want, they can check. Okay, very interesting point. Very interesting point, Mr. Forrest, only because of time. So what you're saying, Mr. Forrest, and I want to, Mr. Patterson, we haven't forgotten about you at all. So what you're saying, Mr. Forrest, is that with the CBDCs, you wouldn't need a vault anymore to keep cash? No?
Correct. The vault wouldn't be physical, so to speak. It would be digital, yes.
And you wouldn't be moving cash in all of these, large vehicles with all these security officers with, these firearms.
Yeah, correct. You
arguably would not need these remittance companies anymore to be sending cash back and forth. Well, they don't literally do it, but you know what I mean, sir. Because there wouldn't be any cash to go and collect at the remittance company.
That's a possibility depending on how you implement your CBDC. So if you have cross-border CBDCs, that would also be true. Our implementation of CBDCs is not cross-border. So
I see. Okay, thank you for that. And what do you mean by that before we bring back Mr. Patterson? Not cross-border?
Right. So cross-border would mean that your CBDC or your digital currency could seamlessly be transferred across jurisdictions.
I see.
So in much the same way somebody goes to a Western Union, takes their US currency and sends it to you, and you go to a Western Union out here and collect the Jamaican, the CBDC implementation would be the same, except that the jurisdictions that don't use CBDC and are not part of an agreement that allows the CBDC value to be transferred, it wouldn't work. Okay. And we do not currently facilitate cross-border transactions using CBDC.
Okay, Mr. Patterson, bringing you back in, sir, and please don't forget the thought you were making before the break. But it would appear to me, sir, that we would not need, theoretically, in any event, theoretically, you would not necessarily need a commercial bank if an economy were to go fully in the direction of CBDCs. Right now, of course, it's not there fully. But if we were to be fully CBDC, theoretically, it seems as if you would not necessarily need a commercial bank. Any thoughts on that, sir? And of course, accounting principles might change. You wouldn't have any petty cash anymore, for instance. Any thoughts on that?
So accounting, as a CPA myself, I know that the accounting principles will not change, but the mechanics of banking will change, as the goodly gentleman pointed out. What is
so
a
accounting? So the accounting principles would not change. That's what you're saying. And I know
no,
that
no.
I know that you're a CPA, sir. Yes. Okay.
Yes. So the point I really want to make though is that
Yes.
all of the nice things that you have just heard are 100% accurate, except in one particular detail. What the CBDC will do, it will allow for the central authority to know in real time what you're doing. Right now, it is very cumbersome. The system is cumbersome and more difficult for the central authority to get immediate insight or to be able to program how you may use your money. They'll now be able with the CBDC to program your money for where you are.
What do you mean by program? I know
Sure,
I've dealt with it
sure.
before in another program, but what do
Yes.
you mean by program?
Yes. So what is it? It means writing an algorithm, a artificial intelligence algorithm, which will be able to differentiate you, Stokely Marshall, from me, Joseph Patterson, where I am and where I am allowed to spend. What I am allowed to spend on differently from what you are allowed to spend on. So where we're heading in this is the ability to, at the macro level, the central bank is normally macro and we are operating at micro. Now the central bank will be able to operate at the micro level to control
I see.
each and every one of us, how we interact with the economy. That means when the central authority says, for example, we would like all of you to take an injection.
Or you mean if the central authority says, but continue, sir.
Sorry. Yes, and some of us decide that we don't want to take an injection. They'll be able to more effectively now manage us to take that, because they can say, okay, if you don't want to take that injection, we're going to limit your scope of operation. You can't buy anything more than, say, 100 yards or 200 meters away. You can't leave your house, for example, and go anywhere. Or you only allow 2 purchases per day, or only allowed to purchase from this establishment. And so we're heading in a very deep, now don't get me wrong, I am all for technology. I believe that we need to move in the way of technology. But what we're doing, we're jumping over the step where we begin to first recognize and respect the sovereignty of the individual. If we don't have a constitution and laws and a government that will respect our individual sovereignty, then any law or any system that they put in place that allows them to better control us is very, very dangerous. We're heading in the direction.
Mr. Patterson, to be fair though, and I'm not saying that you're wrong, I'm not saying that you're right, but to be fair, the government of Jamaica, and I'm not aware of the government of any country where CBDCs have been implemented or are to be so implemented, have done anything or said anything to indicate that they will be trying to control the population in the way that you have sort of indicated is possible.
Absolutely not. They would never, if they were to tell you that, they'll be very foolish. The goal of those who are going to take away your freedom is not to come and advertise we're about to take away your freedom. It is to do that by stealth, so inch by inch, until when you wake up one day you're fully in the trap. Your job and my job is to make sure we analyze the environment properly and forecast where things are heading before we get finally there. We have seen indications already of how the government would have acted if
I want to ask you, I want to get this in quickly before the time goes, because never enough time on the morning watch. Can CBDCs expire and can they be saved and invested? Mr. Patterson, and then I bring in Mr. Forrest and then we wrap.
Yes, they can be programmed to expire. So you're forced to spend them in a particular given time.
So, okay, can it be saved and invested?
Yes, it can be saved and invested. Again, it's all depending on what the programming is, and that can change from time to time. So today I can give you a program that allows you to do X things, and tomorrow I can take away X and say you can only do Y thing. So it's very programmable and much more effective than the current monetary system at controlling.
We are almost out of time. Mr. Forrest, any comments or any thoughts? Can they expire in your view?
Well, let me end with this, because we could have a very long discussion about the conspiratorial actions that could ensue. Let me just say this.
Don't engage in conspiracy theories on the morning watch.
Hold on. The most important thing we need to do.
We only deal with facts on the morning watch. Continue.
Yeah, the most important thing we need to do right now is to question and demand that we increase digital literacy in our country.
Hold that
and we
thought,
do that,
Mr. Forrest. Mr. Forrest, only because of time, I think we're totally out of time. But I think you've made the point, sir. We need to increase digital literacy. Gentlemen, Mr. Patterson and Mr. Forrest, thank you so much for your time and for your thoughts. We're totally out of time for this segment. Perhaps we should have you both back again. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Take the steps towards breast health by examining your body. Get a mammogram and help fight against breast cancer. The time by the Jane Group is
7:30.
Tiles. It can go everywhere, from your walls to your floors, from inside to outside. Your style, your choice. At Active Home Center, we have the widest selection of tiles, from classic to unique. Shop our new arrival of tiles for your bathrooms, living rooms, kitchen, and more. Let us help you transform your space. Visit us in Kingston at 84 Constant Spring Road or our newly opened location in Freeport, Montego Bay. Active Home Center. More savings, more choices.
Highway 2000 East West is making it even easier for us on the road. From now until October 31st, get your T-tag right at the toll plaza. You now feel leave your car. Just give the toll collector an extra $1,000 and collect your new T-tag preloaded right there. Plus, with a T-tag, Class 1 is $20 less at Portmore and Class 2 is $30 less at Portmore. Avoid the lag. Get the T-tag. And don't forget to download the My T-tag app. Visit TransJamaicanHighway.com.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look now at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And we have here in the Gleaner a story of great concern here. Businessman killed in Hanover. Businessman killed in Hanover. A businessman was shot and killed by gunmen during a robbery at his establishment in Green Island, Hanover. And the story continues. We turn to the Jamaica Observer. This headline reads, "Shrinkflation," with an exclamation sign or an exclamation mark. It goes on to read, the rest of the headline goes on to read, "Suck up shrinkflation or do the work yourself." And for those listeners who may be wondering what shrinkflation means, an internet search will indicate that shrinkflation has to do with the practice of reducing the size of a product while maintaining its sticker price or its price. And that is in relation to a Google search on the definition of shrinkflation. We now turn to Loop Jamaica News. An interesting story here by Shamil Scott of Loop News. The headline reads, "Entrepreneur makes it her business to build future critical thinkers." To build future critical thinkers. Those and many other stories in our various news sources. Coming up next, we'll read for you some of the feedback from our Facebook and WhatsApp question, which is, what is your greatest concern about CBDCs? If you haven't done so yet, leave a comment on our Facebook or YouTube. Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-9973-125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
Importers, the Jamaica Customs Agency is reforming its clearance process, making it easier for you to clear your non-commercial and small value items using our simplified declarations. You will be able to clear your goods without physically visiting the port or a warehouse for customs inspection, making your clearance experience even better. The pilot begins October 2022 across all marine public bonded warehouses. For further details, email Jamaica Customs at contactlessclearance@jca.gov.jm or telephone 876-922-51408. We're here to serve you. Jamaica Customs, keeping our customers in focus.
How to prevent breast cancer? We're not really sure. So early detection is your best protection, and self-examination could be your salvation. So look good upon them appearance and investigate them texture, and use your hand to get acquainted with your breast tissue architecture. So the minute there's a change and you notice something strange, you can pay a doctor a visit so them can find out what is in it. And because some lumps are small that you can't feel them with your hand, if you're high risk or turn 40, if you start the mammogram. And if cancer is the diagnosis, you could have a good prognosis, especially if it not start to spread. So between hand and mammogram, make we fight this thing as hard as we can.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look now at how our Facebook and WhatsApp friends answer today's question. What is your greatest concern about CBDCs? And of course, Deidre will be assisting us by letting us know what our listeners have said. Deidre.
Merlin from Clarendon says, for me, not knowing what it is, the pros and the cons. So I'm guessing Merlin's not sure what the CBDCs are, so that would be a challenge for her. Sister Benjamin, here's her comments.
Good morning. I don't know anything about it. I hope it will be safe for us. I hope it won't be a next scamming system setting up with all of what's going on. So I really don't know. We just have to pray. Sister Parchment, good morning. We don't need no currency here that is going to expire on us. We don't need that. That don't make any sense.
Those are the comments for this morning.
Okay, well, thank you, Deidre. We move right into the second watch. Jamaica is 60 years of age. We recently had our birthday celebrations, our 60th birthday celebrations, and one of the things that many Jamaicans are good at is photography. How is photography being celebrated in Jamaica today? Well, we are going to be having a discussion today with Programs Coordinator of Jamaican National Foundation, Chevenise Peters, and a master photographer. His name is Radcliffe Ruddy Roy. Radcliffe Roy, and he's otherwise known as Ruddy. Good morning, Chevenise Peters, and good day, Radcliffe Roy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you both. Now, Chevenise Peters, first of all, quickly tell us, what is the Jamaica National Foundation, and what are some of the things that, well, what has made you show an interest in a photo competition? Why a photo competition, Chevenise Peters?
So the foundation is the philanthropic arm of the Jamaica National Group. And that brand is a standalone brand by itself. But we are always, we're always interested in our people reaching their fullest potential. So it isn't far-fetched that we're going to say, use your skills and show us your world. And that is simply what our photo advocacy competition is. So it's not only just photography. The type of photography that we're looking at is photo advocacy. So it's given a chance to our very own Jamaicans to amplify their voices, to speak on through the lens, to speak on the issues that they're facing in their communities and that they're facing themselves, and also to highlight those things that are good and enriching in this our 60th year that we're celebrating. Because we're not just celebrating the one day, that was our birthday, our 60th birthday. We are carrying it through the full year, right? And as the foundation, we have always been in the business of building persons' skills, So capacity building, I know you've probably heard that term quite a lot, but we're in that business of building skills, and also we through the resolution project, which started in 2004, we have trained numerous students in the skill of photography and also using that photography to advocate for certain issues that they see. So this iteration now that we are in, which we're calling Greatness Through the Lens, the JN Jamaica 60 Photo Advocacy Competition, a little long title, but this iteration now, we're asking all Jamaicans, amateur photographers, budding photographers, and student photographers to enter this competition, to enter this project, to hone their skills in photography, but also expose them to the world of advocacy and how they can use this photography to amplify their voice. Hello?
Hey, hello?
Yes, you're hearing us?
Oh, I see. Apparently, I was muted. Miss Chevanese Peters.
Yes.
When we speak about photography, do we include persons with smartphones, high definition smartphones that can take great pictures? I mean, or is it that you have to have a standalone camera with a certain quality lens, where you have it, where you have you sort of have the camera in your hand? Clarify for us when you say
right. So in this iteration of the project, you are able to enter with a smartphone, because if you know smartphones now, the quality of the photo sometimes it comes out better than a point and shoot, or call a point and shoot camera. So we are allowing persons to use their phones, and we do have there a few training techniques that will teach you that are a bit different than if you're using a professional camera. But we are ready to guide persons with whatever device they have access to.
Okay. Now, sir, master photographer, Radcliffe Roddy Roy. What is a master photographer, and shall I assume, or shall we assume that you use a point and shoot camera, sir?
There's a saying in the industry: the best camera to use is the one you have in the moment that you need to take a picture. So if that happens to be a cell phone, and that's all you have, believe me, you can earn yourself a Pulitzer by using a smartphone. I used to do a lot of talks in America where I tell people that I approach photography, whether I'm using a smartphone or an 8x10 camera or the newest DSLR. I approach it with the same reverence across the board, because the best camera to have is the one you have in your hand at the time that you need to take a picture.
I see. And you are competing in this competition, sir?
Unfortunately not. I'm actually being summoned as a consultant, somebody who has over the years have worked with magazines such as Time Magazine or National Geographic in the capacity of an advocate.
So you're an international master photographer, Mr. You are an international master photographer, Mr. Roy.
I am. I see myself as a photographer. I also see myself as a student of the craft. So the master, as
I see
honored as I
you're
am,
being
I
very.
would
I see you're showing a lot of humility, Mr. Roy. Hold that thought, sir. We are now upon a break. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back at the Morning Watch.
Family growing?
Yeah, time to make a move. Turn down the music, man.
Need your own space?
Time to make a move.
Make your move with a mortgage from Sagicor Bank. Get an affordable interest rate, discount on home insurance, plus a $2 million line of credit that you can use to fix up, furnish, or add your own personal touch. Apply for your mortgage from Sagicor Bank and make your move. Conditions apply.
Know what I count, yeah. Hey, me count, you count. Census say all of we count. Hey, you count, me count. Census say all of we count. We are gonna start from this. Hey, then we reach our west. Hey, the process easy. Yo, please don't just start. Guess what?
Census 2022. The Jamaican census will be conducted between September and December 2022. You count, me count.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the second watch, and we are speaking in this second watch to two interesting persons, Chevanese Peters, Programs Coordinator, JN Foundation, and Mr. Radcliffe Roy, otherwise called Roddy. He is a master photographer, and I will add international master photographer based on some of the work he has done. And in this second watch, we're looking at JN Foundation's Greatness Through the Lens photo competition. Mr. Roy, before the break, you were making a point. Please continue before we return to Chevanese Peters. Mr. Roy?
I'm here.
Well, let me ask you another question then. If you had finished the thought you were making before, what do you think can be expected, or what are you hoping for or expecting, sort of two questions in one, from the competition? Because you may have hopes of what you would like to see, but then you may have your own expectations. What do you see coming on the horizon, sir?
I'm hoping that some of the issues that have plagued Jamaica for so long will become more visible. I think my role here is to create an interest in people who can see in ways that bring integrity to an image, in a way that amplifies an image. Because as we say in Jamaica, if you don't know, you don't know. And I believe that,
Mr. Roy, I want to quickly jump in here, because explain to listeners from your perspective or vantage point how a photograph can bring out some of the issues in a country. Because some people might look at a photograph as just a photograph. Explain to us, Mr. Roy.
let me see if I can do this quickly. One of the things, I've been coming here since 1994, and one of the things I've always asked photographers who I meet on the street or at events, or, I come here to photograph Reggae Sumfest year after year after year after year, and I would ask a photographer, do you have a body of work? Do you have one group of imagery that explains or tell a story about an event or a person or a community or an issue? And I always find that photographers are never interested in the storytelling aspect of photography, that you can use a person or a series of images to tell one story. We're accustomed to seeing one picture at an event, one dilapidated building or a torn-up road. One picture, maybe 3 or 4, but never 30, never 40. How many people are doing books?
where every year after year you're just doing one story to create a narrative that people can bite into and understand what is going on in a situation.
Very interesting. Hold that thought, Mr. Roy. Chevanese Peters, what can photographers in the competition look forward to? And to touch on a point Mr. Roy has been raising, in your communications with these photographers, are they being encouraged to, or do you see where they are already at the point where they look like they want to tell stories with these photographs? You know, I know someone who is a master photographer himself, and every time I look at the pictures that he puts out, it's just absolutely amazing. You know, you look at that photograph and it actually tells you a story. It's not just a picture. Chevanese Peters?
Right. So we want to, we in Jamaica, we have a penultimate creatives, right? So what we want to do with the competition is give our participants a platform and give them the freedom and let them understand that their perspective is valued. How we're going to do that is through workshops. So we're still in registration now, and that goes up until the 31st. After that, we're going to take our participants through a series of workshops where we will, yes, train the skilled eye, try to get them to elevate their skills in photography, but definitely we want to also train photographers in the art of telling the story, of speaking on an issue, of even being able to, as Roddy likes to say, give integrity to a subject.
Yes.
Whoever is in that photo, whatever you are advocating for, you know, it's not a case of letting persons know their situation as a woe is me kind of thing. But even in my woe is me kind of situation, I'm still proud. I still have integrity. I still have value.
Okay,
and that is where
to
I
draw
let
an analogy, Chevanese
centered.
Peters, I think I'm fully with you, Chevanese Peters. So to sort of have an analogy, just as how you might have a gospel artist who puts out a lot of musical content in relation to, you know, having faith and, you know, worshiping Christ, just as how some other artists may put out lyrics and musical content in relation to overcoming various struggles in their own personal lives. You are essentially saying the photographers need to have themes for the pictures they are taking. So if you are taking pictures of worshiping in a church, or your theme is about overcoming the struggles of poverty in a society, their pictures need to reflect those stories that they're telling. Is that what you're saying, Chevanese Peters?
It needs to reflect those stories, and while we will give them some very broad themes, we want your signature in it. And that's something that, and I think Roddy can concur that that's going to be the difficult part, is to get these persons to trust themselves, to have their own perspective shown.
Understood. Now, Chevanese Peters, will this be an annual competition? Will it be annual?
Not in the format that it is being done now.
I see.
Because as I said, we've had different forms of the competition since 2004. So this is very specific to Jamaica 60 this year, and we go up until next year, right up onto the nose of our 61st independent anniversary. So we'll be going up for the rest of the year, and then it may take another look, because we have just completed our COVID edition not too long ago. We got some beautiful images out of that as well. So
interesting. And where can persons get information in terms of entering this competition? It sounds so interesting. I feel like entering myself. I've been told that
I think you should.
I've been told that I take great pictures. So where do you get information to enter this competition?
www.jnfoundation.com.
Go a little bit
And
more
everything is
slowly,
there.
please.
Sign
Go a
up the
little bit more
registration
slowly.
information.
Say that again slowly. www. Yes.
www.jnfoundation.com.
Foundation.com. Okay, so we go to that website and we will find information on it in relation to this
You will
competition.
find information there. Can I do an email address?
Oh, please
Should
do.
anyone want
Go
to
ahead.
have further clarification?
Go ahead.
It's foundation at
Foundation.
jngroup.
Foundation at
jngroup.com.
jngroup.com. Foundation at jngroup.com. We have that. Okay, is there an age group that you have to be to enter this competition?
We have two categories in this iteration of the competition. We allow our students, so that's anybody who is enrolled in a primary or secondary education, so high school, and we're expecting or hoping that you are below the 18 or younger, and you have one category. And then there's the open category. Any age at all, you would enter the open category.
I see. And Mr. Roy, before we wrap today, sir, you're a consultant in relation to this competition. Any comments in relation to what Chevanese Peters mentioned about the themes? Because it seems as if that is the direction persons need to be going in when they are putting out their work. Mr. Roy?
I think one of the things that I am always careful about is how I approach an image. And I think that's something that through the workshops, I'm hoping that the participants will be able to grasp the ideology that I have used that has helped me in my career. One of them is, for instance, driving around Kingston or Montego or driving from Montego to Kingston, you pass issues like, I'm not talking about broad issues like mental illness and homelessness.
Yes.
And this is it. For me, when you approach mental illness, there has to be the awareness of the other person that they're being photographed. And that is also something that I would love for that to carry across. That you can't just go up and snap somebody, because that person is also a human being who may not be able to speak for themselves. And that integrity has to come from you, the maker of the image. There's a difference between a picture maker and a picture taker. I'm hoping that we develop picture makers, people with consciences, people with vision, people with integrity. And I think what JNN has said to me that made me feel so much joy is this is a practice that they have been carrying through over the past couple of years. So I came on this project feeling really confident about the kind of people and the kind of craft makers that we can develop through this program.
Mr. Roy, only because of time, Chevanese Peters, do you accept enhanced photographs? That question came in. Raw photos.
We are going to, because enhancements run at scale, So we're going to have to go through that in the workshops as well with our participants.
Okay, so you will accept enhanced photos. Is there a deadline to enter?
There is a deadline to register.
To register.
So
Okay, what's the deadline?
31st of this month.
31st of October. Have to leave it there this morning. I want to thank you, Chevanese Peters, and you, Radcliffe Roddy Roy, for being with us today. Very interesting, great discussion, and we wish you all the best with the competition. Thank you all listeners for being with us. Visit the Love 101 FM YouTube channel and the Facebook page for this and all other Love 101 FM programs. And of course, listen to the Morning Watch on our Love 101 app and download it today and stay connected to the family station, Love 101 FM, the number 4 station in the island and the number 1 gospel station in Jamaica. This has been the Morning Watch. Have a blessed weekend. Join Reverend Dr. Dylan Toussaint next week when he'll continue to set the stage for the discussion of topical and controversial issues. And of course, thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and to our guests. I am Stokeley Marshall, handing you back to Love in the Morning with Deidre Parchment.